Hello guys, how are you? The Code is here. I continue a series on Yii2 framework. In this video, I want to talk about active record objects. We're going to see how to retrieve, create, update, or delete data using active record notation. Active record is an object-oriented representation of the database, and it gives you a possibility to access the data and modify the data in the database using object-oriented notation. Okay, let's start, and we have to connect to the database, which I already did. I have also created a migration customer table. By the way, if you don't know how to work with migrations, check out my previous video, which is, I think, a complete guide of how to work with migrations. Okay, so I have created this migration, I created the customer table, I applied this migration in the database, and now I can work with my customer table using active record notation. Okay, so let's create active record class. Active record classes basically are models, so they are saved in the models directory. Okay, so I'm going to create one class called customer. And the only thing I need to do is to extend from active record, EDB active record class. And that's it. I have an object-oriented representation of my customer table. Okay, so the table name basically is guessed from the class. So the name of the class is converted into lowercase, and before every next word, underscore is created. So this finally will be assumed as a customer table in the database. Okay, and now I'm gonna let's create a customer controller which extends from eweb controller, and I'm gonna write actions right here. Let's retrieve all customers in the index method. Okay, so I'm going to select all customers, and that's done using the customer class static method find, which returns a query object, and on this query object I can apply some methods. For example, all, which returns all customers in the database. And let's save this into a variable, and let's dump this. Okay, we don't have any customers right now in the database, so let's create just one, call it Zura at example.com, status is 1. Let's save this and go to the /customer. Okay, and here I see array which has one element inside it, and the element is an instance of app models customer. And if we look at the data in the attributes, we see that the ID is 1, username is Zura, email is this one, and the status is 1. So I have an object-oriented representation of a single row in the customer table. Okay, what happens if I want to name my class differently? Like I want to name it my customer. Okay, let's rename the file also. Cool. And now I need to, of course, make select using my customer. By the way, PHP Storm refactored the code, so here is written my customer already. And if I go right now to the browser and refresh this, I see an error. My customer table doesn't exist. That's because, as I said, the table name is guessed from the class name. So they are converted into lowercase, and underscore is created under the two words. If I want to still use the customer table, I need to override table name static method. Here it is, and I'm gonna return a table name as a string from this method. Okay, I can write here customer, and that works just fine. Or I always use curly braces and % notation to have a correct quotation of the table name and to use the table prefix also. That's better way of working with table names. Okay, that's it. Go to the browser, refresh it, and I still see the same result, which is pretty cool. Now let's go to the controller and create one more action, excuse me, to save data or delete or update. Okay, I'm going to create action save, and I'm gonna Okay, let me show you one other things before I move to the saving the data. Like I'm going to select just one customer, action view, which accepts an ID, and I'm going to select just one customer, my customer find. And selecting a one customer, I have two ways. Like I can write find method, and then here I can use where, and the where basically accepts an array or string. Okay, if I put the string, I need to write ID equals to the string ID, but that's the awful way of selecting a data with the query parameter. So your code is vulnerable code, and SQL injection can happen to your code. Okay, so I'm gonna write, you need to write like parameter names like ID, and the ID corresponds to the ID, which is the ID of the query parameter, and then you call all or just one, which returns an object instead of an array. Let's write this on a new line. So that's the one way of selecting a customer. Okay, I'm gonna commit this code and put it on GitHub, so I'm gonna leave this as it is, and I'm gonna create second code, which is more convenient. Find one, and you directly give ID right here. Okay, so the second one is much better, so I'm going to comment this, and I'm going to dump my customer so that we can see view ID is 1, and that's my customer. Okay, let's access each individual properties, each individual columns of this customer. So I can print like a username, okay, and here is username. I can print email and status, and I will see these also. Okay, let's move on and see how we can save the customer data. Okay, so in order to save the data, first I need to create an empty instance, fresh new instance of the my customer class. Okay, so this is a customer, and I need to call the save on this customer. But we don't give any data, so if there are some required fields in the database, that will complain. Okay, so we have two required fields. This bullet basically points to the required fields. So I'm gonna give username. Username is John, and customer email, email is john@example.com. Okay, and then I'm gonna save the call. Let's go to the browser and put here save, hit enter. I don't see any response because I don't return anything, but I can check out the database, and I see here John. It's saved. As far as the active record object, all active record objects classes are child class of the model. So if I follow the active record, I see that it's an extent of base active record, and the base active record extends a model. And I do have a video on models, so you can check it out if you don't remember. But the models have possibility to be used in the forms, and they also have possibility to apply some rules to the model, which will be used also for active record. Okay, so in my customer class, I'm gonna describe rules. Okay, and I'm gonna return an array from these rules, and here I'm gonna write that the username field is required. Okay, and that's it for now. Go to the customer controller and comment this username assigning line. Okay, and refresh the page, and I don't see any output right now because I don't print, as I said, but the record is not added in the database. Okay, so if I want to see all the errors, what happened, I need to, first of all, I need to check if the save was successfully done. Okay, so customer save, if it's true, then dump success, else dump fail. And when I print a fail, I can also print the errors of the customer. Okay, customer errors. Let's go to the browser, refresh it, and I see fail, and I see errors, username cannot be blank. Okay, so if I don't put this rule right here, if I comment this whole method, and if I execute my code just like this, it will fail, but on the database level. Okay, there's a fail, but I don't actually see the error because it failed on a database level. The username was required. It's always good practice to write your rules according to the database so that the errors can be displayed to the user. Okay, so I'm gonna also put here, we have like username and email is also required, so I'm going to put them right here. So there are much more rules, and I plan to do a separate video about validations, so I'm not going to focus on this right now, but I just wanted to show you that the Active Record class is a child class of the model, and you can apply rules to it which will be validated. Okay, by the way, I made a mistake right here, but that doesn't change the picture because it will still show an error. Okay, let's talk about how to update the customer. Let's duplicate this method, action update, and I'm gonna select one customer as I did in the view method, just this one, the first one. So this is the customer. Okay, I need to update this one. Okay, and let's change the username, the email, excuse me, to something@example.com, to the first customer, which is Zura. Okay, let's go to the yeah, by the way, we can also see the result whether it was successfully updated or not. And the save method is also used to update. So if it's a new record, it creates. If it's an existing record, it updates. Okay, let's refresh the page, but not refresh. We need to access update, question mark, ID corresponds to 1. And here is success. Let's go to the table and we see that the email for Zura was changed successfully. Okay, and if I want to delete a record, I need to just call, excuse me, delete. I need to just call delete on the customer object, just like this. And I can put this also in the if statement. So if it was deleted, then success. Otherwise, we just need to show fail. Okay. And let's go to the browser, go to the /delete, hit the enter, customer delete. Yes, I need to pass here ID 1. And I see success. So let's go to the table, and the Zura user customer was successfully deleted. That's it about working with Active Record models for now. In the future videos, we're going to see how to retrieve a complex, how to write complex queries, how to retrieve data in a more complex ways, and so on. So stay subscribed. If you are not yet, hit the subscribe button, and see you in the next time.